Hello, this is Bill Spalding, and I'm presenting Key 15 conditionals, if clauses, that is, and wish. Perhaps as a teacher, you've heard students use the conditional in these forms. The conditional is a very important structure. In fact, it has two hot seat questions that Folsey identifies with them. Both of these hot seat questions deal with potential confusions that surround the use of various tenses in the conditionals. So other than staying off the hot seat, why should we study conditionals? Well, I've outlined this presentation to answer that question. We'll first look at what are conditionals and what are their forms. What is a wish statement and its form? How can we effectively teach conditionals using knowledge about language interference and corpus linguistics and effective teaching strategies? So first, why teach conditionals? Well, they're frequently used. They're difficult to hear, and they contain unexpected verb tenses. So let's define the conditionals. First, what is a conditional? It's a sentence which expresses the idea that if something is true, then something will occur. The grammarians will assign terms to these two parts of a conditional, the protasis and the apodosis. Protasis is the clause that expresses the condition. The apodosis is the consequent clause. So the protasis is, if you give me ice cream, and then the consequent clause, the apodosis, is I will give you cake. As Folsey recommends, I also recommend not using these terms, but they're helpful for us as we look at the structure of conditionals. Conditionals are traditionally divided into four categories. The zero conditional, which tells of something that is generally true. The first conditional, which is a possibly true in the future. The second conditional, which is hypothetical. And the third conditional, which is imaginary in the past. It hasn't happened, didn't happen, and it's completely part of the imagination. The zero conditional is one that's always true in the present or the past. Notice that the tense is the same in both clauses. We have the simple present tense as part of the condition, and the simple present tense as part of the result. This is a very straightforward conditional for students to learn, and it could be taught alongside the present tense. The first conditional is when it starts to get a little bit interesting for grammarians and a little bit confusing for English language learners. The condition is expressed in the future tense. Okay? The condition is about the future, but it is expressed in the present tense, whereas the result is expressed in the future tense. The verb tense in the if statement is in the present tense, while the verb for the result is in the future tense. How can you reconcile that with a student? The second conditional is one that's not true or possible. This one begins with the past tense, either the simple past or the past progressive, and then includes the word would and the verb. One of the challenges related to the second conditional is that when the verb to be is used, were is always used, not was. That's for all people. For example, if I were him, I would travel with my dog. If I were you, I would apply for a refund. The third conditional addresses action that did not happen. It's imaginary. and it's in the past. The condition clause is in the past tense, either the past perfect or past perfect progressive, and the result is uses the words would have and the past participle. So I could say, if it had been sunny, I would have mowed the lawn. Okay. The real fun begins when we look at how conditionals are actually used. Folsey notes that mixed conditionals and combined patterns are very commonly used. And so this is what is very challenging for English language learners. Note the second ELL challenge here. The verb follows the rules for a time of condition and time of result. So if you look at the condition in the first example here, the condition could be in the present, and the result could have been in the past. If he were rich, he would have bought that BMW yesterday. Again, you could have another combination. You could have the past time and future time. For example, if he had become a citizen, he would vote in tomorrow's election. Or you could have a future and a past, or a future and a present. So these combinations are very common, and that makes it even additionally challenging for English language learners, especially English language learners trying to fit their understanding of conditional into the traditional typology. Two general challenges regarding all of these conditionals are if omission and contractions. And the first if omission is an issue of style. If can be omitted in English, as it can also in Russian. It may be omitted when you use the words were, had, or should, and then by inverting the subject and verb. In English, this is generally regarded as being a more formal expression, but it is nevertheless common. The second challenge is the use of contractions. These can be very difficult for English language learners to discern. They get left off at the end of a phrase or a clause, and so they're very hard to hear. So Folsey recommends help students hear the contraction. There's another kind of a statement that is lumped together with conditionals called the wish statement. A wish statement really is a statement that refers to something that is unreal, unlikely, not true, or didn't happen. And the Blues Brothers put it well when they spoke about a wish sandwich. If you wish to click into the link there in Rubber Biscuit, you can hear their song, but I'd rather date myself with this reference. Verbs in sentences with wish follow similar patterns as if conditionals. So of themselves, they're not difficult to learn. The challenge with the wish statement, with wishes, is that the verb tense in the wish statement is not the same as the time of action. So if you look at the first example here, I didn't study last night, okay? And notice the sentence, I wish I had studied last night. So if we put this all together, this like the issue of tenses with conditionals, this also presents a challenge of ELLs understanding the use of the correct tense. So how can we help our students? Well, let's start with language interference issues. The good thing is, and this is a very good thing, that many languages